Welcome to the DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build better tech. Today is a little bit of a different episode. We're joined by Bert Verhoeven. I'll probably pronounce that wrong now. Program Director Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the University of Newcastle. I was fortunate enough to meet Bert as we were doing some alpha testing of DevReady products and got a bit of exposure to one of his classes, and Bert intrigued me around how they're using AI within the university and how they're making it mandatory for students to actually engage with AI as a part of course. So I thought, let's open up a conversation and look at how we're encouraging people through innovation, entrepreneurship, to really get a hold of AI and dig in on there. Bert, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I'd like to learn a little bit about you. So just take me a little bit into your background and how you ended up at the University of Newcastle. Obviously not from Australia originally, as people will tell from your accent.
No, I'm originally from Holland and had my own businesses there for a very long time, about 20 years. Then came to Australia in 2006 because my wife is Australian. And did the Master of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Swinburne. Started a new startup in a social network for international students in 2006. It was like a year after Facebook started. Nobody's heard of
Facebook.
Had heard of Facebook by then, so we thought it was a good idea. We tried for 3 years, but Facebook sort of got us, and we lost the competition against them, like everybody else. And then the university came and said at Swinburne and said, "Do you want to teach because you were good at the master and etc." And then that's how I sort of came into academics. Then I went to Flinders in 2017, which is in Adelaide, and I set up there a whole program to teach skills to students from all over the university in entrepreneurship and innovation. That was very exciting and really interesting. And then this year I joined Newcastle as the program director there. And Newcastle is also very ambitious in entrepreneurship and innovation. They really want also to extend these skills to many different students. And that's my niche, so to speak. That's what I think I'm very good at. So it was a very easy decision to move to Newcastle and start setting up their innovation enterprise and entrepreneurship
so it's
courses.
Really early on. Yes. But it's
yes.
exciting when it's new. It's like a little startup inside there.
It is, and that's what that in itself I really appreciate, and I really enjoy setting up things. So yeah.
A bit about your business background. I'd love to dig in there. So tried to build a Facebook at the times. Back in Holland, what were you a part of? What sort of businesses did you work in?
Well, I started as a journalist and started in my business where we were doing skill development of corporates and also government. We're doing communication training and things like that.
Yes.
Then went really well. I was also kept doing writing freelance articles for engineering magazines and for business. Went well, and then I set up this social enterprise for kids in Brazil and in Africa. We sent in sports teachers into the favelas of Brazil and the slums of Africa, and we helped them develop skills. My whole life has been around skill development.
Yeah, it seems like it as we dig in. Yes, a lot of skill development, a lot of education, training.
Yes, all that, and we teach them social skills, but by doing sports with them. So we were doing the kind of team building sort of, for example, exercise we were doing with corporates. We were also doing with these kids in the favelas. And then we brought it back to Europe to teach the schools there how other children play and how they learn.
Yes.
And in both ways, it was very successful. We got a lot of funding from the European Union to do this in Belgium and Holland and in the Czech Republic. And I really enjoyed that. It became a very large organization as well. They had a lot of people working for us at that stage. And when I left in 2006, and I've always enjoyed doing that kind of bigger projects and creating shared value, I guess, for the people around you.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How you're in the world of education based on that background and journey. But then in innovation is really where it all stems from and starts from, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about, like, when I like I said earlier in the introduced you, I presented to one of your classes, and I was fascinated. You said this in the class.
Yeah.
You must use AI, and then you must tell me how you've worked with AI to solve this problem, as well as how you've iterated from AI, and I want a full description of that as a solution. A lot of universities today are saying you must not use AI, and if you do use it, we'll find out and we will basically fail you. Why are you going on this journey? I know why, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Yes. Well, we started this journey in January 2023, so it's more than a year ago now. I'd say we, my colleague and I, at Flinders, we said, I've always been interested in AI, and when I saw ChatGPT 3.5 coming out, I just knew straight away this is going to change everything. And my colleague and I said, well, we just have to prepare our students for this, what's coming here, and this is so different. This is such a big change in what's happening that students, we have a responsibility to teach our students about this. That was our starting point, and then we didn't know how to do it at all. So we just started from there.
No one did 12 months ago. I think a lot of people still have no idea.
No, so it was really a startup in many ways, right? You learn from doing.
Yes.
And we went out there and we started developing prompts with our students. We started developing ways of integrating into their design research, which they were doing into a problem. Then we were using it for prototyping solutions and helping them, come up with questions for users and user interviews and all that. And it was very helpful already straight away. It was very helpful. It was very difficult initially. Students were quite anxious to use it because, like you said, all the other teachers were telling them not to use it, and it was cheating if they would.
Yes.
So they when I asked them in the first class, I said, "Who thinks using AI is cheating?" And this is February 2023.
Yes.
About 80% put their hand up. So everybody was convinced that it was.
That's what they've been told, right?
That's what they've been told.
Yes.
At the end of the class, I asked the same thing from my students, and only one girl put their hand up out of 100.
Oh, wow.
So I think they really changed their mindset in those 3 months and really started thinking differently about how to use AI. And what it taught us is that it changes the way we need to teach, right? It changes, as you said, I want to see from students the process that they've gone through with AI. So I think in everything we'll use AI, and more or less, of course, there's certain jobs that we do that where AI is very good at, like sending emails or improving emails and things like that. That we use it every day. We will use it every day. In other jobs, we'll use it every now and then. But we will use AI, generative AI, in our lives for so many different things. And I want to know from my students how they've used AI in their work for this specific course. So how they've used it, I want them then to copy all the prompts they've done into the attachment so I can have a look at that and I can see their learning from AI. I can follow their steps. I can follow their progress in their learning. And that's, for me, is the most important thing in learning for the next generation, because AI will do a lot if you just ask it to do it. But if you don't understand it and you don't use it to solve problems and to be in charge of AI, I think it's going to be running away with us. and then it leads to all kinds of issues, right? Potentially where it isn't perfect, and then it makes a lot of mistakes. And if you don't recognize that, for example, you're in deep trouble, as some lawyers have already experienced.
Disbarred. Yeah, it's quite a telling experience to go through that process.
Yeah.
I think it's quite fascinating the way you're approaching it. The reality is it's a tool. I think people need to see it as a tool. and how do we engage and work with the tool? Like we learned how to use Excel, we're learning how to use AI and the power of it. Just the advantage of it, though, is there's so many use cases.
Yes.
It can be used effectively on anything.
Yes.
And it's how you work with it to get the result is generally, that's the most important thing. It's like, how do you train yourself to work with it to get a good outcome? If you're very vague, you're going to get vague answers. If you're very specific and detailed and go into detail, it will actually help you get to a really good outcome. That's what I found. I'd love to understand how the students have gone with it. And if you were to compare a course that they've gone through for a semester, how does it look? What's the difference? What sort of outcomes are you getting differently as a result of AI?
Yes, and that's what makes our approach special, because we have used it for a whole year already. So we know we can compare with the years before when we didn't use AI and when we did use AI in 2023 and now again in 2024. And so we see clear differences. We asked every student to do a reflection on their use of AI at the end of the course. And we learned a lot from that as well. We're in the process of writing an academic article on that as well, what we've learned from that. But in general, what you see is that the outcomes are better. So what happens is that overall, students come to, for example, propose a better pitch of their solution to a sustainable development goal. For example, they need to research a sustainable development goal, and they then need to find a solution. That is the design thinking course that I've used it in last year. And what you see is that the pitch that they do, the solutions they come up with, and the depth of the analysis of the problem is just deeper and is better, and is better argued, and it's stronger presented. So it's very interesting to see that. So the outcomes are all looking overall better. So the U-curve moves up. And that means also that our expectations will go up as teachers, right? So,
of course, if everyone's producing a better outcome, then who's probably critically thinking?
Correct.
Is probably where it drives to, right? It becomes critical thinking.
That's where it drives to then. And that's why I'm saying so our assessment is not only on the outcome anymore. It's still important to have an outcome, but that was in the past what you assess. The learning outcomes were what you're assessing. What you assess now is the development of students' critical and creative thinking. That becomes core in every curriculum. No matter if you do engineering or law or medicine or business, that becomes core of your curriculum, because in engineering, you would, if you use AI, right, for coding, or you use it for development, then you still need to explain your critical and creative thinking in that process. Same in medicine. If you treat that, you deal with patients. Same in business. So it's all that in itself becomes like literacy and numeracy was in the 20th century. I think that critical and creative thinking become the core skills and the core competencies that we need in the 21st century.
It's fascinating, and it's changing that quickly. Where we spent decades getting good at skills, but skills are not really where the future is.
Not those,
but critical and creative thinking have been, especially creative, I don't know the exact figures, but I think there's some data under the ages of 7, 80% of kids produce, genius levels of creative thinking, and then by the time we're adults, it's 10%, drops off dramatically. 2%, even worse. There you go. You know the data. It's just fascinating to see that, but that's an advantage. As humans, we are creative. We're just trained not to be. Now, correct. Potentially, there's an ability to help us be creative with technology, which is a great outcome, I think, for the future of people. And I feel like people are getting scared of technology, but again, it's a tool that we can leverage. And in the end, as humans, we always look to create better, create more, do things differently, and what this technology will enable us to do is do things differently and hopefully do things better if we're creatively thinking with it. That's my 2 cents, but I could be completely wrong, but who knows? I'd love to hear yours.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that is like I think our roles as knowledge workers will change, right? If you look at your own role, Andrew, now, in the past you were creating this code or you were creating a program for people to use, and then you were managing that process, and then you were administrating it at the same time as well,
Correct.
And that's what your contribution as a knowledge worker, that's what you were doing. And where now you're co-creating the code or the program with AI, obviously, you then edit what comes from AI, and you may get ideas from that, and you serve on those ideas. You make that, you make changes. You use your creativity to adapt and to improve and etc. So you're maybe are able to pursue multiple opportunities or different opportunities or etc. than you would have done before, and then you do that editing process, and then you think critically and creatively during that editing process, and then you facilitate it with AI into the real world, where I think your company specifically, right, is doing that now. You're facilitating that process for other people, for other companies or organizations into the real world, so they can then start to benefit from what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we're a little organisation here in Victoria, and I've got a fly flying around me, but ignore him. We're heavily similar to what you're doing at the core in your courses and your teaching. We've AI enabled our whole business, and that is the future of business. And I feel like it's the future of actually people enjoying their work too.
Yeah.
So some of the work we needed to do was really that high level thinking, and that takes a lot out of people to just go through detail after detail after detail and try and cover all bases. Now, within the space of minutes, we can have AI recommending probably 80% of what needs to be there. And then you can create around that, which makes the whole experience of working a lot more fun and enjoyable for people, and not laborious as to I'm just trying to tick the boxes. So there's a huge advantage for people as we move into this AI-enabled world.
I totally agree. It's very strong in that kind of structuring your thoughts and helping you give feedback on your thoughts. And in that sense, it's a really nice tool to develop your own thinking as well, and become stronger in your own thinking too, right? So I think, that is for me is probably the most important one. But there's so many other functions, as you know, as well. That you can use it for. So, like we use it, as I said, for research, for prototyping, for development of ideas, for creative thinking, for critical. It's very, very diverse, and it can also write really well, which is great for our international students, for example, who are a lot more confident now, right? So they're allowed to use it in my class. To improve their writing, and I tell them, I want to see your own piece, and then the improvements from AI again in the attachment, right? I want to see how you've moved, but I will assess your final report, and that is well written, and you can be very confident that it is well written with the help of AI. As long as you did your editing and went over it, and didn't just copy it over.
You didn't spend 20 minutes with it and get a report, and it's you can tell, right? It's going to be vague, it's going to be general, and it's not going to be very specific. If you're really working with AI, you need to spend the time to get it more general, more specific, and get it to what it is.
You see it straight away if somebody just copied it over. You can see that, right? And you can see also if they have made adjustments. So I think that becomes the norm for teachers to start looking at, right? To really teach their students that is their way of working, and just copying over is still not done. That is still cheating, and because it doesn't really help you for your future to do that. No. That's not the right way.
Well, in the end, we're at university, in my mind, to learn how to learn, to learn how to evolve, to critically think, and creativity comes into it. That's what university is all about. Also, good network, good people, make some good friends. My business partner, who I've been working with for 16 years, we were at uni together, to give you context. So it's amazing what those journeys what that university life can bring.
Very true.
So it's an interesting space and it's changing dramatically, like a lot of businesses are. But I feel like you're probably one of too few in this space. What in the rest of the university? What's the sort of thoughts around how you're approaching your courses? How is that taken?
Yeah, it's still. I think most universities see the threat now. Yeah, and there's a lot of interest from colleagues.
Yes.
I think a lot of colleagues aren't able yet to integrate it into their teaching. Yeah, so it requires quite some skill. We've worked now for a year on it, and we have improved ourselves. But to be able to change your whole assessment, your whole curriculum, your whole way of teaching, because that's what it will do. Yeah, you will have to start teaching. We call it authentic. Yeah, so that means in real life, real world problems. Because if you solve real world problems, then AI has a lot less opportunity to just do all the work for your students, because it's the real world. So the students still have to translate everything they do with AI into the real world and vice versa, and what they learn from the real world into AI again, right? So, so that is the facilitation and editing process. And so if you would just do a case study, then AI can easily answer those questions very well, right?
That's very true.
It's so not a problem at all. So everybody who was doing that, who was doing essays, case studies, that kind of assessment, which is the majority of the assessment, they would have to now change their whole approach and start teaching real world challenges. And start developing assessment that is also based on that. And that is based on a lot more feedback and a lot more, you're not following the process like I've just explained before. So that requires quite a lot of thinking and a lot of development. And most people at the university will not be ready for that. And most teachers will not be ready for that. And that's why at the moment, I think universities approach is still from a security assessment kind of approach, where they look at, well, can we secure the current assessment somehow? And that is very hard to do.
Impossible, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Very impossible. So I think they're just, most of the university trying to win time now, so they can start working on the real changes that they have to do, and that is very different. Of what I just explained,
very. In terms of changing the way we learn, but if we're focusing on real world cases, people coming out of university are going to be in a much better place for the workforce they're moving into, because that's dramatically changing, just as quickly, if not, it's quicker than what's happening in university. Really, a lot of people are looking at how they augment with AI effectively.
Yes.
A lot of businesses are, a lot of pieces in the businesses aren't too. So there's always leaders and there's always laggers. In the case of any innovation, there's the early adopters, and then we get to everyone's on it. And then there's the late adopters who probably won't be here in business because they've missed the boat.
Yes.
So getting them ready for that world is quite important, I think.
Well, and then are they capable of doing that, right? That is the big question. And a lot of people will really struggle to improve their critical and creative thinking, because, like you said, they haven't used it since they were 6 years old. So because they haven't learned it really at school either, and that is one of the major issues, that a lot of people will struggle with that, and they may miss the boat, right? And that is a real concern of mine as well. So I think, can we? There's quite a large group of people who will use AI and then dramatically improve their performance. That I see that myself.
The output's a given, right? So the output, you're always going to get a better output.
Better outputs. It's incredibly, very many big improvements. But then there are students that I see in classes that are not really capable of improving their creative and critical thinking, which is a skill they really need to develop more, and they struggle with that. And you see that they struggle with that. And I wonder, what will happen to them, because if you can't, then you probably won't have a knowledge worker job anymore, right? If you don't use AI in the very near future. And so then you would have to look for other jobs and other kinds of work, and that's going to be very interesting what that will look like. Yeah,
it will shape the way we employ people. Not just do a skill based. It's how they think, how they problem solve, how they analyze. Become
So
very
there will be
poignant.
tests. I think if you're doing you apply for a job, you will have a job interview. You will probably have to do a test around Gen AI to see how you use it, how you solve a problem with Gen AI, right? To show that you're able to do that. I think that may be a part of your job interviews. And then
some new 360-degree surveys or personality surveys. It's a generative AI use case.
And if you can't do it, then you're out. You won't be in. And then I think will be the very, very near future. That will not be the long future. That's already happening.
People are demanding it. Yeah, businesses are demanding it. They're employing prompt engineers. They're employing these types of people because I don't know if it's from fear or it's from opportunity. I'm not sure yet. It's from both. I would say some are from fear that we need to do something, otherwise we're going to miss the boat, or some are we see opportunity. Let's explore. Let's get better at what we're doing. Let's take advantage of what the technology is. So a lot of people are investing in this space.
Yeah, no, very right. So I'd say we need to really look forward to the future and see, well, okay, if that's the case, we have a responsibility to teach our students, then we need to develop these curriculums and say, well, we are going to change everything and we're going to teach our teachers how to do that, and we give them the tools to do that. And that is very difficult in an industry that has changed so little over so long. So
it hasn't moved for how long? 100 years.
Very, very long.
Time. Yes.
So it's going to be so interesting to see where this will lead to. Personally, I think students will vote with their feet. They will just go to the organizations that are able to do this, and they will go there because they will recognize that without it, they will not have.
They're not going to succeed without.
They're not going to succeed. So I think it's going to really shake up the whole education world.
In terms of your results, when are you looking to publish in terms of what happened last year?
Yeah, we are already, we'll present on a conference in June on this in Spain, actually. So, and then hopefully soon after that. So yes, the academic articles are always a bit slow, right? That's why I prefer. I've been writing for the London School of Economics Impact blog. We've done many articles on that, and that I enjoy that much more because it's so much quicker and more
it's easy
impactful.
To get something published and out, right? It's more timely. No, brilliant. But I think it's a couple of points you raised here around education needing to change from the ground up, effectively.
Yes.
But that stems into business too, because even in our little world, you've seen some of the stuff we're doing with AI. We've changed our processes because of AI.
Yes.
And we've changed the way we think because of AI. And we've been able to engage other people into our process because they're supported by AI. So it changes everything. And that's not quick and easy to do in big business. So I feel like we're going to be in a world where there's a lot of early stage startup driving new change and new innovation in business process, strategy, and all these particular areas. I think there's going to be a huge shift in that space.
Yes.
Big business sort of can get lost in what they've always done. Similar to a university, we've always done this. It will take us years to really catch up. And I feel like, we're in probably the next wave of early stage innovation, driving big change. What's your thoughts on that space?
Yeah, no, very much so. I think the difference with other technological developments is that this isn't here already. It's happening now. We're using it, and we are seeing the results of that. We see that we can, for example, I use it for my assessment. Also, when I mark students, I use it.
You're using it a lot.
I use it for everything, and I'm very open about that. Students know that as well. But but this is how I use it. So I don't just let AI. I don't just upload the paper onto AI and say AI mark this paper and then copy the feedback to the students. No, because that would be really bad. That would be a very poor process and very poor work from my side. But what I do is I do create a prompt that is quite a sophisticated prompt in which I encapsulate the assessment requirements, etc., etc. And then I of course I remove all names from students, so there's no way to identify the student. And then I let ChatGPT or other, but in this case ChatGPT, provide feedback, and I let it provide feedback on all the elements of the assessment, and the feedback is in opportunities for improvement and strength. So those two elements.
Cool.
And then you get some, again, ChatGPT is very good at that. It's very good at creating very positive, empathic feedback. And I use that, and I added that then, what you just said. I look at it, I added it, I add my own ideas to that, right? Because I've read through the paper quickly. I don't need to write it down, so that makes a big difference in time for me. Yeah, I added it. It's much quicker than writing it down.
It's always
yourself.
Editing is so much quicker.
Much quicker.
And starting from a blank canvas, it's like
exactly.
It's
same with coding, right? It's quicker.
Huge, yeah.
It's much quicker to edit it and to develop everything by yourself. So I'm not the creator anymore of that feedback, but I co-created with AI, and then I mark the students based on my assessment. So I'm not let AI mark yet. Not yet. I think
not yet.
It's just not good enough. Yeah, one day it may, but at the moment it's not good enough. So, but that shows you how the world is changing, right? And that saves me probably half the time. I'm saving 50% of my time.
It's a huge amount, isn't it?
That's a massive amount.
50%. Imagine talking 5 years ago, if you said, I'm going to be able to give you a product that saves you 50% of your time,
correct,
you'd probably shake your head and say, what are you talking about? If we get a 2-3% saving in time, people would invest in that 10%, right?
Yes.
50%, if you're not investing, you're crazy, really. You're going to be miles behind.
You're miles behind. And this is what will change everything. So there will be an efficiency that is so much better. Plus the outcome, so there's efficiency, 50%. Yeah, efficiency, that's great. Outcome that I give the students is way better than I would have done myself, because I don't have that kind of time to go into that kind of depth of my reflection. And plus, if I've done 100 papers, my 101st paper reflection is not as empathic as my first 10.
Yeah, of course.
You get very tired. You get tired. So you're not always as empathic as AI would be, because AI doesn't get tired.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Bert, to hear how you're using AI in education and supporting people in the world of innovation and educating from a new world we're drastically moving into. We're in it now. So we're right in the middle of it, and we all have to change, adjust. But I feel like this is it's a fun change and adjustment, because we're seeing the quality, we're seeing the output, and one thing Anthony, who you haven't met, my business partner, says he's not brain dead at the end of the day. That's one way he coins it. He doesn't go through that. He's just working in detail all day, or he comes to the end of the day, he's gone. He's completely switched off. He feels like he's got more energy for his kids because he's working with this technology.
Yeah, it's
that's
awesome,
a huge win. It's an awesome win. Yeah.
Yes, and I see that too. I see all the positives as well, as much as I see the concerns too, right? We need to really understand how to use it, and we need to have some regulations around that as well.
Yeah, of course.
I do see the massive benefits for people, and in terms of efficiency and enhancing of our outcome, quality. Yeah. So those are two massive, and because of efficiency improves, you have more time. So I do think again how we manage that, right? If we keep pushing the boundaries all the time, only higher, and then we don't win anything from this.
That's a possibility, right? And that's, as society, that's given how we operate in the past, I think that's probably where we're going to end up. Yes, we're going to get time back, but then people are going to demand more, and that means you're still doing the same things, because but we're able to produce 5 times more potentially.
And that's where the government needs to come in and think about, right? This is where there needs to be some thinking around this in terms of our work week and how we build it up. I think we should be able to go to a 4-day work week with AI easily, and then still be more productive than we were before.
50%, yes. You will
Yeah,
be.
yeah. So that is, I think, that's where governments and our institutions should really start thinking about this and say, well, how are we going to regulate our economy, and what are we going to do here? When we said the same thing when we said the 8-day work day, 8-hour work day, so to speak. Yeah, we said that as well. So we can regulate that, right? There's nothing wrong about regulations around that. I believe that's not communism or anything.
The data behind the 4-day work week says that we're just as productive and efficient in 4 days as 5 without AI.
Yes.
So there's the interest. It's going to be interesting the way that leans.
And we can. I think if we do develop those skills, and we have that advantage, then it's the same as we work 8 hours a day, where people in other countries maybe work 16 hours a day. But they're not as efficient and not as productive as we are. So we can work 8 hours a day, right? So nobody will challenge that. I think it will be the same with our 4-day work week, etc. So, but there needs to be some thinking around that. That hasn't really started yet much.
It's very early. It's very raw. There's some corporates sort of leading that in some areas, but that's tiny fraction of what's happening in society. But that will change. It will evolve. And I just think back to that point around we are a very capitalist society. That's the risk here. And I don't know how much change will happen in that front because people are always looking to get ahead, and they'll see that if everyone's using it, if someone's working 4 days a week, if I do 5 and 6 now with AI, I should be ahead of them, and we just continue that perpetual cycle. That's just the skepticism side of it. But
no, you're right. And but that's where you look at how to change our perception of how we live and what we do together, right? So when we had our weekend off, right? This is 19th, 20th century early. We got a weekend off. It became 8-hour work days. Those kind of things were then became normal. Although then it was also capitalism was very strong, obviously.
Yes.
But Henry Ford started paying his laborers $5 a day, which was double or more than what they would earn. And then that, I think those kind of examples we can show in history where people with a view and with a understanding of how society develops were bringing those changes in a very capitalist society as America was in the early 20th century.
We've all experienced big change through COVID and working from home, and I never worked from home before it. Now I sit at my home office.
That's right. And most of us do. So I think that's a socializing process that we have to go through, and we already written about it as well. So that as a society we need to socialize those kind of different thinking, and then see where we end up. And then hopefully we'll end up at a consensus where everybody has a better life.
Brilliant, Bert. Bert, thank you for joining me on DevReady Podcast. We can probably talk forever around how it will impact, and I'll get you on when you release your paper. Let's have a conversation around the data that's come out of that. I'd be quite fascinated as to how that approach went last year, and obviously you're still going this year, so you generally would have got some really good results from it. So I'd be keen to see it once you release the paper and what it might look like in terms of education.
I just want to mention that I'm developing that paper with Vishal Rana, who's my colleague, and we're doing everything together. We've written all these articles together, and then much of what I've learned also with him and through him. So all the credit to him as well. He's now at now I'm blanking out, the university in Queensland.
Okay, so you're infiltrating across states. New South
yes,
Wales, and then,
we are.
Adelaide, New South Wales, and then we're
Griffith University.
Griffith. Yeah, nice. Brilliant, Bert. Thank you for joining us. Really enjoy the trailblazing that you're doing in university, and congratulations on the effort with yourselves and your colleagues. And good luck with it all, and let's stay connected. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing what you're doing on the DevReady Podcast.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.